Okay, so hello everyone. So lovely to be here with you. Hi, Mary Jane. As we're just starting, and obviously it's the first few minutes people will be joining, and some of you will be watching live. I just want to make sure that some time passes, and just for everyone to kind of catch up as you're coming on board. And just to say hi, and I hope you're doing well. I'm very, very excited to be here with you today. I'm really happy to be talking on the topic of the Black Swan. It's something that is very dear to my heart. And you will probably see me looking in two different places because I'm actually catching up with comments on my phone, and then I've got the camera on my laptop, which I might not be looking as much on the laptop as I would like to. But yes, it will be you'll see me kind of navigating from one to the other. I hope you're all really well. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about why I wanted to do the topic of the Black Swan, particularly at this moment, and why that energy feels really prominent. It's become very clear to me the more I speak to women, both either with clients of mine or with kind of people in the community, and generally seeing on the online space what is happening with so many women who are kind of putting themselves out there in the world, either with their gifts and building businesses to creating relationships, or just building their lives, really. One of the common themes I experience and people are talking about often is a lot about wounding. We talk a lot about wounding, and we talk a lot about some of the obstacles that we encounter. And it seems to me that there's a lot of really great conversation around sort of manifesting and all these possible ways to really create more of the life that we want. But it seems that there's not enough conversation, and it's not that it's taboo, but there's not so much conversation or giving enough space and voicing around a lot of the kind of things that are holding us back, and a lot of the hidden elements that are kind of part of playing unconsciously their role and their part in how we kind of move on with manifesting in our lives. So just generally experience more kind of like fertility, more enjoyment, and more kind of like even feeling motivated to create. And what I experience in my own being and in my own self is that any kind of thing that I put out in the world, anything that I kind of bring in the world, and anything that requires a little bit more of an effort from me, there's always an element of like transmutation. There's an element of like moving, turning fear into possibility, turning maybe something that's been feeling like stuck energy into like energy of flow. And in whatever it is that we might be creating, or just really wanting to feel that we're experiencing ourselves in a way that feels sort of fulfilling, what is a really significant part of the process is the kind of aspects of ours that are laying a bit more dormant and that we're not giving enough space to, and how they tend to hold really massive energy for our evolution, real kind of like potent and fertile energy, even in those parts of us that it might feel like they're kind of hidden, either because there's shame, because there's trauma, because there's some kind of wounding, because there's been some sort of loss, because there's been some kind of even conditioning that has affected us and has kind of slowed us down in the process. And I feel sometimes that as great and motivating it can be to hear about all these possibilities we have laying ahead of us, and what is possible for us to create, what I feel that not enough space is given to for us is really kind of just the sort of the space where we get to alchemize, where we get to recognize some of the losses we experienced and the kind of impact they have had in our lives, but also in terms of either slowing us down, in terms of kind of creating a little bit of a self-sabotage in us. And the fact that so much of that has been unwitnessed. It's been unwitnessed by ourselves. It's been unwitnessed by people around us, because again, we haven't been given a safe space to do so, right? To bring it to the surface. And it's been also kind of like really because it's unwitnessed and because it's not been acknowledged by ourselves or other people, what can happen is that anything around kind of moving towards the road towards fruition, or anything that where we can allow any buds, or anywhere where we can sort of like allow ourselves to experience in a bigger way, and to want to have more, to want to be more than what we experience ourselves, can feel like a little bit like it's holding us back. It's not something we can access. It's not something that we even feel naturally we want to desire. And rather than kind of creating this very unnatural, inorganic sort of process where we try to get really motivational around kind of creating things in our lives, I truly believe that the most beautiful way to create is through an organic process of sort of fertilizing and a composting. So composting is going to be a big part of what I talk about today, and it's going to be part of the energetic work we're going to be doing. So we understand healing. Let me tell you a bit about composting. We talk a lot about healing, and we understand healing as a way of, kind of transmuting and releasing sort of kind of things that are holding us back, right? Could be from ancestral stuff. It could be from, conditioning from society. Could be through our own wounding, whatever. However, what happens a lot of the time, and again, something we don't realize, is the majority of the time, we're not actually it's not just about release, it's about composting. What we're essentially doing is using the kind of like, the very things that we've lost in life, that we've kind of experienced, that through loss, through trauma, through whatever difficult experience, we're actually using those seeds and we use them for composting. It's actually becomes a fertilizer for whatever else we bring to our lives, we allow to thrive into our lives, right? Whatever dreams we might have, whatever we're creating. And equally, say you're a business owner, right? You're creating a business, but you experienced a lot of like difficulty in life, loss. So you have kind of let go of a lot of things in your life where, no longer serving. Those things are never wasted. Nothing that we get to lose in life, or we get to experience through loss, whatever reason, to grieve, to be let go of because we choose other things. All of those things are not lost. They're just composted. And composting, energetic composting, is something that I've been working with quite a lot recently, something that I really personally have valued. And it really allows me to create a lot more safety for whatever it is I'm planting next in my life, and I'm bringing seeds to. This is the interesting thing. Often when we experience loss, or when we have kind of suppressed aspects of ourselves, which is what the black swan essentially represents, right? We might have suppressed a loss we experienced, or we might feel like shame around it. We might create isolation because others will not know how to understand us in that space. Whatever it is that's created through this, the loss we experience through something, or the sacrifice, or the trauma, whatever, that actually, because it carries a lesson for us, because it carries to experience and energy, that is alive. That is not a dead thing. Just because we lost something, that holds a seed that actually can be planted and can be composted to really, for whatever else, whatever new we're bringing into our lives. And especially when it comes to more ambitious work, ambitious projects, building businesses, or creating a life of your dreams, it's really important to understand that, this composting really matters, because we have created so much shame, and we experience so much what we perceive as failure, and that creates so much shame in us, that kind of ends up creating a lot of like hesitation for building anything new in our lives. And so what we want to create is like a fertile soil, so that there's a space for everything. There's a space for the grief. There's a space for us desiring the new. There's a space for our expansion. And there's a space for us to navigate through the nuances in life, right? Because we are complex beings. anything that we create, we can't be too black and white about, we have experienced a lot, and it's really important to root for all the good things that we can have and to really look at the possibilities. But we want to be able to honor everything that's been kind of like caused suffering, that's caused loss, and that maybe has held us back a bit or is holding us back now. There's a really interesting way of honoring that and using it to compost for whatever we're bringing next to our lives. And let's talk a little bit about the Black Swan, first of all, and really understand a little bit more about her energy. So if she's somebody who has experienced, and I want to make sure I cover some of my notes. I made quite a few notes here, and I want to like really cover them, yeah? She's somebody who's either experienced loss, she's kind of experienced life events, right? She's gone through life phases and cycles in life that where she's experienced wounding. There's been wounding through trauma, big or small. There's been life experiences that have shaped her. There's also wounding with not having been witnessed enough in our lives through our primary caregivers. There's wounding through breakdowns of relationship, loss of jobs, of divorces, loss of loved ones. Changes, radical changes in life, they can create, if there's not a sense of security within ourselves, and if there's been early kind of life trauma, and if there's been kind of events that actually have been very strong events, there's going to be some wounding that kind of happens in our lives. And often wounding can be one of the kind of primary and biggest reasons why growth can be really kind of hindrance, right? And expansion can be like, we can really feel held back from expanding into any newness in our lives to create more fertility, to create space for growth. And that's one of the things. And with wounding, I identify 5 types of wounding, and those 5 types of wounding are the types of wounding that sort of we do healings and we're addressed in my private work and in my work in my container, my alignment academy. And I want you to see and tell me a little bit as you hear about those. Write down below in the comments which ones of those you feel you identify the most. We've got the witch and healer wounding. These are kind of like, think about them as archetypal kind of woundings, right? That most humans we get to experience at some point or other. Some more than others, right? And some will be experienced by some people, some others not so much. So bear that in mind. So let's talk a little bit about wounding. The witch wound and the healer wound, that's one of those type of woundings, that sort of areas of wounding that I do the most work. So witch wound and the healer wound is the one that where maybe we believe that, that we're not able to be of value to ourselves and others through our healing gifts and our healing capacity, right? And it's also to do about our visibility, being seen by the world. This is something that especially kind of like, women stepping into a role of running a business and maybe using the spiritual gifts. When it comes to finding ourselves hesitating, using our spiritual gifts, that's often connected to the witch wound and to the healer wound, So kind of somewhat deep within us, we feel we don't have the capacity to use those gifts and to really support others with those gifts. And we might feel like a hesitation to show up in the world. Hi there, Fatima. Lovely to see you. So as I said, notice as I'm going to mention those ones, which ones resonate with you the most, which of the 5 resonate or stand out the most for you right now, that feels like speaks to you right now, where you're at more. So we've got witch wound and healer wound. And it could be that in a sort of previous past life, or you've made a vow or a contract to not use your gifts in that way, right? It could be through religious or societal kind of like conditioning. You might have felt like it's not right to do so. I know in sort of Christian religion, anybody using kind of having healing gifts or healing abilities, it's frowned upon. They feel like only God or sort of like Christ can actually heal, can use those gifts. We are not, we can't go beyond that in some ways, right? And in some aspects of religion, of Christianity, that's considered the case. I've definitely experienced that. I remember when I was running healing workshops back in London years ago, I think that must have been like 15 years ago, I went in my local community I was going to run a 2-day attunement workshop. And I remember going into a shop, it was a Christian shop. And I said, can I leave this card? She had a notice board. Can I leave this card with my healing workshop? And said, no, sorry, for us, like only God can heal, So that can create such a big witch wound, such a big healer wound in somebody to feel, I cannot use my gifts if my religion or whatever says to me that only God heals, right? But it could be a lot sort of less. It doesn't have to be as big as this. It could literally be things like, your mom and dad did not believe in healing, or they would sort of ridicule that you come from a background where, everything is very rational and very much like matter of fact, and the sort of capacity to heal is not there, is not something that gets talked about or is seen as a little bit too woo-woo, right? So we've got wounding, witch wound and healer wounding. We also have our wealth and abundance wounds. So wealth and abundance wounds are to do with kind of our ability to support ourselves, to earn money, to feel like that we can do well with money without struggling, right? And that it can come from a place of enjoying, making money in a way that we enjoy, that feels right for us. So that's to do with wealth and abundance. And it could be that, again, for whatever reasons, that can link to our ancestry, can link to limiting beliefs that your, ancestry held around it, coming from a poor background. It could be linked to religion. It could be linked to societal kind of conditionings around maybe you can only make money working for an employer or being productive, whatever it is, right? But it's just really our ability to feel comfortable earning money for our gifts or for whatever, being worthy of earning money and to feel good about earning money and to feel positive about money, about wealth, abundance, whatever that means to each individual, right? So we're not talking about huge ideals here. We're talking about feeling comfortable in the energy of money and making it. Another wounding that we carry, archetypal wounding, is the shame and anger wounding, right? So having been shamed in life, it's something generally that most humans, we experience some level of shame. And that can be particularly strongly, again, most of those wounds that we experience in early life, they can be particularly strong, right? So if we've been shamed, if we had just one little experience in our younger years where we've been shamed in some way or other, that can really stick with us, that can really stay. And that can act as a little bit of a trigger any other time then. Once we experience that we have an opportunity to shine or to say something, we might think twice because of the shame we experience from speaking our truth, speaking our minds, being authentic. And because it pushed a button for somebody and then we got shamed and then we take it on board as that being like, the end of the world, right? So we feel very sensitive around it. And that brings up a kind of stuff around, accumulates a lot of anger, a lot of shame, possible self-hatred, all that kind of stuff. So that's another type of wounding, right? So kind of be aware how much shame plays a role in your life, in your own personal life. And then we have the abandonment and neglect wounding, again, when especially in our early life, when we felt kind of rejected. And it could have been like that we interpreted like that, but actually it wasn't where they were coming from, a primary caregivers. And in some cases, and sadly, they have been neglectful. They have kind of abandoned us in some way or other, through not witnessing us, through not being there for us. And kind of that has created an element of a wound within us. And especially when it came to the younger generations, the stories you hear from your parents, your grandparents, some of them were so strong. Like when I hear stories from my mom and my dad, I was so shocked by some of the experience they've had. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, no wonder you struggle knowing how to do this with me and my sister. It's this thing that, this gets a lot worse with the previous generations because there was so much lack of knowledge, and the consciousness was in a completely different level to where it is now. So that plays its part as well, and how we show up when we feel abandoned, when we felt neglected. It's very hard for us to show up for ourselves because we fear that we'll keep getting abandoned by people. So what's the point of putting a business out there, starting something that requires motivation and maybe even going against the grain and against what maybe our society, our family unit would even agree with or resonate with or celebrate. It can trigger that wound of abandonment or and we feel like we don't have what it takes to really get started with something. And the final wound I talk about is the creativity and self-love wound. So, and that can also be a bit of an accumulation of of all the other wounds that we talked about. The creativity wound is very much to do with creation, right? It's like really creating something tangible, but it could also be something being creative with our gifts and being creative, having that desire to create in the world, because again, maybe we have been ridiculed in the past, or it wasn't witnessed. We were not witnessed, we were not celebrated, we were not loved for what we were putting out there because people didn't know how to do that. And that can cause a little bit of that sort of us holding back from being creative because we don't feel that it's going to be witnessed and celebrated because we don't feel confident. And when that self-love aspect is kind of like a little bit kind of has been challenged through the people that loved us all around, then it can feel like really difficult for us to step into a creative flow, creative energy, and feel confident about it. And, one of the things that when you see children in the playground playing, just thinking how my cat needs to go out. So let me just let her out. When we one of the most beautiful ways to kind of create is through experimentation, is through literally just kind of giving ourselves, creating a safe space for us to create and navigate through things with ideas and no feeling like it's a big deal, and yeah, that is just something that we forgot how to do, and it's something maybe we didn't have as much. So then you can imagine a child goes to school and it's all about creation, but it has consequences, it's taken seriously, it's penalized if not done properly. So there's the marking system. So then moving from that, from maybe not having been celebrated to going to straight into being marked and being kind of like taken through a process for creation, that feels like that's not necessarily, hasn't planted the right seeds within us to feel confident about creating from the heart and really kind of doing work that feels like good for us. So creating things that feel joyful and to feel that we can experiment with our process. So these are some of the different types of wounding, right? Anybody, any woman or man, any woman, like we're addressing women now, that has experienced any of these wounds and, it still goes through some of those things, is essentially a black swan, has a black swan energy quality to her. She has this part of her that has maybe kind of like gone through stuff that hasn't been necessarily processed enough or really sort of like then turned around with, if she hasn't really acknowledged or spent enough time, if we haven't spent enough time with those wounds, we need to connect with a black swan energy, and we need to be able to understand the gift that she holds for us and the lesson and the energy that she's bringing for us to acknowledge, to play with, to celebrate, so that we become a lot more whole. And this is a very important part of the work because, Carl Jung used to say, good does not become better by being exaggerated, but worse, it gets worse. And a small evil becomes a big one through being disregarded and repressed. Now, obviously, the wounds are not evils, right? But anything that gets kind of like, in a way, disregarded, or because of shame, because there's been all these aspects that have not been celebrated, because we haven't had the sacred space to come acknowledge and love the unlovable, then what tends to happen, it really kind of, yeah, it gets disregarded, and that gives birth to the black swan. And the black swan, we're here to give space and we need to give voice to. But at first, I want to hear from you, ladies. If you want to type Fatima and Mary Jane and anybody watching the replay, can you share with me something? Can you share with me which of the wounds that I've mentioned you identify the most at the moment? So we talked about the witch and healer wounding, the wealth and abundance wounding, the shame and anger wounding, abandonment and neglect wounding, the creativity and self-love wounding. Which one of those did it speak to you the most? You feel you resonate with the most right now? I would love to know. I'll give you a minute. So we've got witch and healer wounding. That's all one. Wealth and abundance, shame and anger, abandonment and neglect, creativity, self-love. Which one of those speak to you the most right now? I'd love to know what resonates, what feels stronger in your energy right now. Any ideas? Do you want to share? Do you feel a little bit shy doing so? The witch. Yeah. Fatima, I hear you, and yeah, I think that's a big deal. Yeah, interesting, Mary Jane. You witch healer as well, eh? Interesting. Wow. Okay. So quite similar on this. It's very interesting, isn't it? So this is all about our visibility, being seen and being kind of like being able to use our gifts, right? And I think that in a way, what's great about this is that, you know, in a way, some of the abandonment, neglect, the shame and anger, often when the witch wound heal is sort of like wounding is there more prominent, we might have done a little bit more work with the other ones, a little bit more, at least not necessarily the wealth and abundance, but definitely the abandonment, neglect, shame and anger wounding. And I think that's a really good thing. Mary Jane says, difficult though to have one more than the others. Okay, I get you. I mean, I still experience wounding in all of those. So I think it's fair to say that we all have a little bit of everything to a different degree. And some of it also we might be more aware than others, not because necessarily others don't exist, but because maybe they're a little bit more hidden for us, you know? So, yes, so we're going to be doing some healing later on some of those anyway. But it's very interesting because we talk about the black swan in terms of wounding, but there's another two areas that kind of affect kind of the black swan that actually gives birth to the black swan. And the other aspects are to do with conditioning and beliefs that have been passed down by our ancestry. So, you know, let's think about something that's a really big goal for you right now, something that you would desire in your life right now. Let's think about that. And, you know, I'm sure if you were to think about your family and their beliefs around the very thing you're manifesting, right? I bet you will find a belief or a phrase they had said when you were growing up, or something that might have been acting as a kind of like trigger for you, right? Around what you want to create more of, and ends up becoming like a suppressed sort of energy in your unconscious. So for instance, for me, when I shared my ideas with my mom and dad, my dad often would say, with those ideas, you'll do nothing in life if you're thinking like this, you go nowhere in life. That's what he would say. And he didn't mean to be mean. He just honestly thought that, the consciousness and the ideas that I had, they just felt a little bit too out of the box for him. And I think he wanted me to do well in life. And he was saying that as a way to kind of like protect me, but actually it ended up coming across really, really wrong. So to some extent, I then suppressed some of my dreams, right? Anything that I wanted to do creative, my parents were saying no to, that my ideas were not kind of like celebrated, and it was seen as a little bit of a no-no. So I kind of ended up suppressing aspects of that side of me, and then that turning into anger as I was getting older, right? So and that became a big thing for me, and having to address some of the anger, right? Talking about shame and anger wounding for me, so that I could feel that I could step into what I want, some of the things, the life I'm living now, if I hadn't addressed that, if I hadn't integrated my black swan, that would have been like really sucking my life out, and it would have been like continuing to be a suppressed desire of mine to do healing work, to do creative work, and to step out of the kind of way of kind of, I guess, working that just I wasn't going to do, So the beliefs passed down to us, right? Plays from ancestry, from religion, from society, plays a big role there. And then, of course, it's our choices in life. That's the other thing that will kind of like give rise to aspects of our suppressed black swan. So every time we say yes to something, we also kind of say no to something else. So say, for instance, we have those paradoxes of people choosing career over family in some cases, or being single rather than being married. There's things like around, I don't know, kind of living a life of freedom rather than kind of like pursuing a career, whatever that might be for people, every time we say yes, and it might be that the yes feels really right and really like a yes for us, but there's still space, like we still need to acknowledge what impact that no had, right? So when we said yes to that, people having like children to people not having children, so it's really important that, and that's one of the beautiful things about journaling, right? Journaling really gives voice to the unseen and to those suppressed aspects of ours. It's a really beautiful way to work with a black swan, to understand her needs, her wants, her desires, and kind of like really seeing how that had an impact on us. When you said yes to having a family, or when you said yes to not having a family and to having a different life, when you said yes to a career as opposed to something else, everything has a consequence. And even if that feels right for us to choose something in relation to instead of something else, it still has an impact. And it's about acknowledging that impact and understanding what that meant for us, right? We're going to take that as part of the little planting we're going to do. We're going to do some composting, and we're going to plant a seed. And I'm going to get you to reflect something around this in a minute. But it's really kind of understanding those are the kind of key three things that actually give birth to the black swan: our wounding, through our life experiences, through traumas, that can play a big role, through, just really big turning points. And often it can be also, trauma can be through some positive things. Giving birth is traumatic. Positive things in our lives can be traumatic, like moving home, moving to a new home, but obviously very negative things as well. And changes, big losses and changes, like the loss of a job, the loss of a loved one, the kind of loss of our youth, letting go of old versions of self, that's loss. And, that can be traumatic sometimes as well. So there's loss, there's wounding, there's big life events, traumatic events, all those kind of things. And then there's the choices we make in life. When we say yes, that has a consequence, that we need to understand what that means to us. Even if the yes felt like a yes and felt right for us, it will still impact us, what we say no to. the beliefs passed down on us from ancestry, society, all those things, and family, really give birth to a black swan. And kind of really taking a moment to understand, and I want to ask you here, how do you feel you connect with your black swan? Do you feel you give space for you to connect with her? And do you feel that you have managed to really listen to what she has to say and to see what she's kind of had to kind of, I guess, process and loosen and transform through? Because she holds a seed for all of us. The black swan has some information for us. She holds a seed. She holds an energy that once we integrate, we become a lot more whole. And from that place of wholeness is where we can really create with a lot more freedom, with a lot more energy, with a lot more promise, with a lot more of that organic desire, right? Because we cannot push our evolution. We have to, yes, place a level of effort, but without that unacknowledged, suppressed part of us that has suffered, that has lost, that has kind of been conditioned and, has had to live through consequences, how easy does it get? It's not quite the same, right? To move more confidently in the new space that we want to create, in manifesting these new desires and accepting change more kind of gracefully and embracing change with a lot more enthusiasm and kind of more excitement, right? So if I was to get from like 0 to 10, let me tell you, if you were to think about it like without overthinking, how connected do you feel with your black swan? With that part of you that has maybe been a bit unseen through all the experiences we talked about, through just the stuff that we don't go to acknowledge as often. How connected do you feel to your black swan in your life on the whole? From 0 to 10, with 0 is not at all. 10 is like, I'm really connected with her. I feel I commune with a part of myself. I exchange information. I take her transmission. I take her gift. I take her, whatever she has for me, I'm receiving that from her. I'm listening to what she's missing, to what she's grieving, to what she's losing, to what she's, how connected do you feel personally in your life with her? Fatima, do you want to go and tell me? Do you want to go first? 0. Wow, my lovely. Thank you for sharing that. That's a big deal, right? That's a big deal. And do you have a sense from the 3 things that we talked about, the wounding, the choices in life, and the beliefs passed down on you, do you feel like which of those feel stronger for you? Do you have a sense which of those like contributed to this? And Mary Jane, you let me know as well. How connected do you feel with your black swan? I'm curious to know as well. And kind of like taking a moment to really take that in, Fatima, you said 0. Obviously, that's, it's quite a striking kind of realization, right? To realize actually I've not been connected to that part of myself. I've not been given, enough voice to that part of me. And, what could that be costing you now, to not have that connection to the voice of what's been sort of disregarded within you, what's been kind of the voice that has been sort of like kept quiet. Really kind of aware of that. So whilst you guys are there, I want to also tell you a little bit more about, okay, this is the process we're going to do in a minute. You're saying 2, I'm trying, but I'm used to suppressing everything, was literally told I'm nothing and a burden. So I suppress from myself even. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, it's like it's very hard when we've had that experience to really feel that we want to, why would we listen to ourselves, that part of ourselves, if we've been told that we are nothing? It's very hard to value that voice within us, right? And this is not to kind of like, I'm going to give you guys a process, so bear with me, right? I'm going to give you a process and you can revisit that process, because I'm going to email you this for the recording, but also you can do this without the video. You can do this on your own. We're going to be connecting with her. We're going to be doing some composting, and we're going to be planting for the possibilities you're creating in your life. It's very, very important to realize that, because it's like, you know, it's very hard to want to give her any space if we've heard terrible things from others, from our caregivers, so people who are meant to really witness us and love us and support us, you know, all the things that, you know, all the times our families did not value us, you know, or did not value what we had to say, all that play a part, and kind of went straight into becoming a black swan, right? Straight into becoming a black swan. Fatima says, I think it has a lot to do with family, watching how others behave. Yes. So again, what we talked about, societal, ancestral conditioning and belief passed down on us by others through observing. So this is, thank you both for sharing that. That feels, it's a big deal. For those of you obviously watching the replay, I'm curious to know if you feel like sharing and you receive this over an email, please reply and let me know what you found. And also, if you're watching the replay here, just message below, comment below. I'm really curious to see this, what it has been for you, and to really understand that. And this is the important thing, right? This is where it gets better, guys. You know, like, we don't need to stay stuck there. It's never too late. I don't know if you've heard the expression, it's never too late to have a good childhood. I believe the same is with the black swan. It's never too late to connect with your black swan. It's never too late to listen to the voices of yours that have been suppressed, to the desires, to the dreams, to the aspirations, to the parts of you that have been shamed, that have been sort of put under the radar and have been buried deep within, right? It's never too late to start that relationship with your black swan and really integrate her wisdom, her pain, her suffering, but also really take the lessons from that, right? Because through these experiences, you know, once we alchemize that energy, we really kind of can create a deeper level of safety. And I promise you, by the end of the session, when we do the energy work as well, you will feel a lot more grounded in yourself. Hopefully, you know, you will feel a lot more excited about continuing this work, that integration with her and with who she is and what the gifts she has to give you. I had so much, like, looking at the pain that I used to hold and looking at the woman that I am now, I still experience fear and a bunch of things, but just being able, the more we able to give voice and to listen to whatever the black swan, the energy she holds and whatever she suppressed in herself and within us, it just is almost like more spaciousness is created in me, right? And it's like you kind of feel a lot more able to do stuff that you wanted to do, to dream bigger and to want to do stuff, you know, that actually might go against the grain or break the mold of how you were doing things. And particularly when it comes to, for those of you who are business owners watching, you know, the more you integrate the shameful parts and the parts of you that feel like they've been stuck and they've felt unwitnessed, you become such a powerful force in your work. You're able to earn more money, get more clients. You're able to be more bold in your creative process, sharing your message, the stuff that you're more kind of like, you might have been more sort of less brave to share. I've noticed even in myself over the last few months, since October, I've been sharing a lot more boldly in my Facebook because I've been doing a lot more Black Swan integration. And I really kind of feel like she helps essentially transmute your energy and you become a lot more, bring a lot more high vibration in your energy. because when the shame, when there's hidden aspects, we still contract and we make ourselves smaller. And then it's like about really becoming more whole. When we become more whole, we're more able to individuate. From the place of individuation is when we can create some very interesting things, very, very interesting things that we might not have been as daring before. Okay, so that's why her medicine is so potent. That's why we need her. But before we do some healing, guys, and before I want to do 2 different types of things with you. We're going to do some composting, energetic composting, and we're going to do some energy work as well, okay, to activate more of, open up a little bit more space so that you come into deeper communion with your black swan, okay? What I want to also now address it is make it less emotional. I want to give you a different perspective. We're going to look into universal laws for a minute. And this is very important, and I'll tell you why. When we look at our we think about our black swan, we've got, we are divine feminines. We are here to share our light, and we have, a capacity as a spiritual being. We have a divine nature, okay? So we are divine feminists. We hold the light capacity and we hold the darker capacity. The darker capacity that we're talking about of the black swan, she holds the medicine to give that power, that energy, motivation, creative energy, and confidence, trust, self-love to the light divine feminine aspect. So we have the light and the dark. Now, when it comes to those 2 aspects of us, I want you to understand that this is so much beyond, our capacity to be light and dark. This is not about light and dark. This is essentially more to do with the law of polarity, okay? So when it comes, we have 12 universal laws, and the law of polarity is essentially one of those 12 universal laws. And it's essentially tells us that everything is dual. Everything has poles, yeah? Everything has a pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. It's where the extremes meet. So in chemistry, when it comes to chemistry, the polarity of molecules determine if they will repulse or attract each other. It basically determines the magnetic quality, yeah? So essentially, your black swan and your light divine feminine, the light divine feminine is the one that gets to be seen in the world, right? That our everyday life, people gets to experience us through our kindness, through our generosity, through how we put ourselves out there, how we create, and how we show up in the world. And the black swan is the one that's hidden underneath, right? So understand now that this polarity of your black swan and your light divine feminine, this is essentially just part of like one of those foundational universal laws. And it's not a bad or good thing, but it's essentially we need a bit of both so that we become essentially we're able to magnetize. We need the polarity. Polarity is an essential universal law that we all experience. So, anything to do with polarity is important, okay? So in Chinese philosophy, we look at the yin and yang, right? It's like the yin is the negative, dark, and feminine. The yang is positive, bright, and masculine. So both elements of the polarity are needed to maintain the harmony of the universe and to influence everything within it. And why it's important to understand that is so that you get a different perspective as to why it's so important to be able to, trust into the value of the black swan. We become a lot more harmonized in our own experience. We're able to bring a lot more peace and balance in our lives by being able to be in that polarity, right? So essentially, the law of polarity is a powerful tool. It's a powerful tool to change our mindset and to shift our energy. And that's why we need the wisdom and the energy of the black swan. So Carl Jung also used to say, and this is important, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So say, for instance, if your black swan holds some of the wounding around you know, abandonment and rejection, neglect, you know, you might feel like you're unconsciously, you might get a sense that you will never do anything of value in the world, right? Because you feel you've been abandoned, and you feel you have that wound activated, and you will feel that that's your fate and that's who you're meant to be. And that is not the case, right? Now, understanding that your black swan is part of the polarity of you, of your human beingness, is very important, and it takes a little bit of the energy and the charge out of it. And it really helps you to understand that you just, if you want to be more balanced in yourself, you want to be able to do a little bit of that work to connect with her. Now, that's one of the 12 laws of the universe. The other ones, we've got law of divine oneness, law of vibration, which is a lot of the work I do, law of action, law of correspondence, law of cause and effect, law of attraction, law of compensation, law of perpetual transmutation of energy, law of relativity, law of polarity, law of gender, and law of rhythm. So quite a few different laws there. But it's very interesting to see it from that perspective, right? Your black swan really brings that, is like the yang, the yin to your yang, right? And it's kind of like almost like brings that element that is essentially there to bring more balance in your life and is there to support you most, yeah? So just let me see the comments here you've written. I think it has a lot to do with family and watching how, yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm sorry, I've read that already. So kind of like know that anything that has polarity in your life, and this is obviously one of them, is essentially there to bring more meaning, to really bring more wholeness, right? And essentially in the planet, and as we grow and evolve, we want to bring the most wholeness we can do. Now, I want to get you a little bit reflecting on something, because we're going to move into our healing. We're going to keep it to an hour and a half, not 2 hours, because I don't want to get too theoretical here. Do you have, first of all, any questions around this? Any of the things that I've shared so far? Because I'm going to share with you a process that you can do. So the energetic composting that we talked about is essentially taking the wisdom of your black swan and like really taking that seed and really planting it into your garden. We're not wasting it, because there's a lesson in there. There's an energy with this that comes with you in whatever you're creating from now onwards. It's coming to bless you. We're blessing that part of you that's not been witnessed, that's been suppressed, that's not been given voice to. I'm not getting any questions, but I'll give you another minute. And I'm looking at my notes just to make sure. Yes, one of the things again, and this is one of the issues that I think we really need to discuss here for a minute. Mary Jane says, in the moment of pain, how do we recognize then the polarity and be able to see what to do? Or do we not need to do anything? It's really more understanding the moment there's pain, there's something's being brought to attention, right? Something you need to be taken into. And often for me, it's this thing that, first of all, when the pain comes up, is I need to sit with it, right? I need to be able to like acknowledge it, be with it. Because one of the reasons it becomes a black swan is because it hasn't been met, it hasn't been seen, it hasn't been witnessed. And by being able to do that is what essentially really helps you create more of a shift and helps you come to peace with it. So if we're using polarity, if we're using polarity as a way of becoming more whole, we need to like see that the pain is there to be seen, and it needs us to be present with it, because in essence the pain is part of that polarity, right? In our essence, like, you know, in our life, we're here to experience joy, we're here to experience ourselves as healed, full of potential. When pain comes into the picture, because it will, because it's part of human experience, that creates polarity. That creates the pain itself, is the polarity. So what we're doing, we want to be able to just be with it. And then we're going to ask some questions. We can ask some questions with it. So let it be viscerally with the pain. Let it go through you. Let it see. And, you can say a few things. First of all, who does it belong to? When you ask the question, who does it belong to? If this is a pain because of, say, you conditioned to feel that this is, this is how you meant to feel. This is what you meant to experience, whatever. And then you end up experiencing something different and then you feel pain, right? Then you feel like, well, actually, this is not even my belief system. This belongs to my mother, or this belongs to whatever. So sit with like, who does this belong to? Because it could be a pain that's experienced through something that doesn't even belong to you, right? It could be like a generational pain. It's in the pain body of your like an ancestry, or belong to your mother or whatever. I used to hold a lot of like charged emotions that were not even to do with me, especially when, we've experienced a lot of projection from family members, right? Obviously, we've projected a lot ourselves. Who does it belong to? And then you want to ask the question, if it doesn't belong to you, the energy will start feeling lighter. The moment you ask the question, you think about something, you feel something, you say, who does it belong to? See what happens to it. Does it become lighter? If it becomes lighter, it means it doesn't belong to you. If it still feels as heavy, then you want to essentially ask questions. Ask questions like, why am I feeling this pain? Why is this so painful? What is this pain teaching me? What is it about it I'm not seeing that's causing this pain? So the emotional equivalent of not walking on an ankle you've just broken and understanding what has happened and why. Emotional equivalent of not walking on an ankle you've just broken. It's kind of, well, I'm not sure if I fully get that, but it's really kind of, understanding why you're experiencing this pain can be useful. Sometimes you still need to process it. The understanding alone won't necessarily, like there's a lesson in our experiences, right? And you might, no, you haven't confused me. No. But understanding the pain is one thing, and it's wonderful to know where, why it's happening, but then it needs to be processed and felt, right? But then we want to understand, what is this teaching me? What's the teaching in this? This is the thing we're composting, right? What's the teaching in this? What is it about this situation that I'm not seeing? And why is this does this feel so painful? Because it's normally a lesson. When something feels painful, this tends to be a lesson. There tends to be a wound that has been triggered. Where did I felt this hurt the most? If something has a lot of charge, but we feel we shouldn't have so much charge, there tends to be connection to a trigger, to an early trauma, to something else that's not necessarily linked. And remember, especially when it comes to specific things like relationships, there was always going to be an association to our early life, one way or other, right? So the equivalent of not walking in an ankle you've just broken. Well, I would just say you might be like thinking that you have a broken ankle, but it's not even broken because it belongs to somebody else, right? Like it was your mom who used to break her ankle all the time. And then you kind of made it as if it's yours because you took her pain as yours, right? This is something we do a lot ancestry. We take the pain gets kept on being recycled over and over to generations, and it could be whatever that might be. Does it make sense? So it's less about not walking in an ankle you've broken, but it's more about like believing you've got something broken that is not even you breaking it, but you've taken on the belief that you've broken it yourself. Because it happens with ancestry, we take on so much stuff that doesn't belong to us. So much stuff that doesn't belong to us, but it still needs to be acknowledged. Okay? No, you're not a confusing person at all. That makes sense. Good. Just understand that also that a lot of what your black swan holds is not even yours. They belong to your ancestry. But, and using that phrase, who does this belong to? It will clear a lot of energy in itself, right? Any other questions? And once the processing of the pain happens, I mean, that's part of the process I will take you through is you can ask 3 questions I have here really that you can ask yourself. I'll probably wait until I take you through the process. But the thing that I want you to understand, and I think this is where we started, like, you know, I think I've mentioned this, right? Carl Jung says wholeness is an individual's goal. It's not perfection. And I think sadly, a lot of what we're seeing out there in the social media and everything, you know, it really is a lot about perfection. And then that ends up accentuating the black swan even more, because we are just not voicing the part of us, and everything we see outside of ourselves keeps on like accentuating this perfection, not the wholeness, not the acknowledgement of what's going on, what's been suppressed, what's been hidden, what's been pushed down. And if anything, we want to push it down even further. So when we can kind of have this perfection that's being kind of advertised and promoted to us, and we feel like, oh my gosh, we're splitting ourselves in two. That's why the black swan, you know, and the thing that I personally always say to everybody who's really creating change, who's healing, who's building businesses, who's just in any personal development path, is like, please start creating some sacred space in your life and start creating safety so you can really let the black swan kind of come to the surface, get her medicine, but also feel organically confident, grow some natural confidence and desire to want to build from there. You know, it really needs to feel safe. Safety is really important to experience the safety within us, to really kind of be able to grow from there organically. So yeah, yeah, that's what I wanted to share about it. And but I want to have a little bit more of an experience now of your black swan, particularly using her medicine. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit more of a transmutation a little bit, and then we're going to do some composting, as I said, energetic composting, getting her seeds and getting her wisdom. Okay. Fatima, do you have any questions, my lovely? And we can go into doing some of the energy work now. I'm just going to wait for a minute to make sure we're all good. Okay, we're good here. Okay, you good? Okay. I'm going to ask you, if that's okay, if you want to get yourselves ready, I'm going to take you through a meditation. Okay, lovely. Thank you, Fatima. I'm going to take you through a meditation. What I want to because you might be after the work we're going to do, I want you to feel more relaxed. I'm going to say a few things before we get into the energy work. So first of all, what I want to say is that you can use the process I'm going to take you through in your own space, in your own time, to just do that with any aspect, just connecting with your black swan, right? And obviously the energy work, it's energy work, we're doing it, but when we're doing the planting of the seeds and connecting with her, what I would recommend, and using it for your garden, your psychic garden, what I would recommend is just do it at any time in your life and really use it as an opportunity to connect with her and hear what she has to say. Okay. And I'm going to ask you to also, I'm going to suggest that you use whatever other methods, like journaling can be a really beautiful way in the daily to actually connect with her desires, to give voice to whatever's been suppressed, whatever's been bothering you in your life through your day. And what tends to, the beautiful thing, the gift of journaling is that the more you get to do it, the more comfortable you get, you ease more comfortably into the space of just voicing disappointment, and you just release a lot of energy by doing so, whilst you're also gaining more clarity as to what's really triggered you, what's gone on. that instead of turning it into a black swan kind of thing. So it really is about, it's a great space for you to integrate her energy and to really let her be, kind of show you what she needs, and to really be there to meet you. You're actually being there for yourself. You're meeting yourself on a deeper level. It's a really great way to do it. So I really recommend personally journaling. And the other thing that I would say is also like, it's very hard to actually connect with our black swan or any other deeper aspect of ourselves if we're really constantly on busy mode and we're not creating any kind of space to be alone and to really connect with ourselves. And that's why I would say that either through doing some meditation is a really powerful way to not only connect with her, hear her voice, but to also like shift her energy and really be able to really create a beautiful kind of synergy between your light swan and your black swan to really like bring them together and integrate. Really, really beautiful. And it really shifts the energy of whatever it is that you're kind of like bringing to the surface that she has to say. It's a really fantastic way to do it. But if meditation is not something you can start with, just creating more space in your life so that you can just be. So it could be either through having a bath, through really just slowing down your pace of life. Just having some of that in your day is really important, because then you don't get to bury her voice under trauma-based productivity, constantly choosing to do things, constantly sort of overriding, her voice. And the reason why I personally feel she's been one of my kind of like reasons for like growth in expansion in my life in all areas from money to whatever is because I truly believe that, it's created deeper safety level of safety in me. And I really feel that safety is really underrated. The need for it is really big for us to feel we can organically desire deeper expansion and to feel that that deeper expansion is possible. If we feel a deeper level of insecurity, if anything, we're looking at more certainty and stability in a limiting way. We're finding it a lot more difficult to expand and to want to desire more. So we end up staying small and we end up like really playing it small. So it really is about it leads to more expansion, being able to give voice to all those parts of ourselves that have been laid dormant or hidden. It just gives more space for expansion and more natural space for expansion. Yeah. I would love you ladies to just be able to take a moment to close your eyes. I'm going to do a little meditation first. We're going to do some healing, okay? Some energy work. Take a deep breath. Breathing in and out. Just filling your lungs with air with your breath. And as you're breathing in and out, I want you to connect with the energy of compassion in your heart space. Just letting yourself, you've got this beautiful pink light in your heart. That's the heart's, the energy of compassion. So let's connect with that energy first and let that expand around your heart space as you're breathing in and out. And as you're breathing in and out, I want you to take that energy and move down to your solar plexus, your sacral, your root chakra, down your legs, into the heart of Gaia, the heart of Mother Earth, through all the layers of the earth. Really allowing your beautiful, compassionate energy of your heart to really connect with the heart of Gaia, this beautiful golden light. And allowing that light of Gaia to really become bigger and vibrate all around you and your body. becoming bigger and bigger, and really letting it merge with your own energy body. And as you're breathing in and out, I want you to let that energy travel all the way up through the layers of the earth, all the way up through your feet, up onto your legs, into your root chakra, the bottom of your spine, the base of your spine, up into your sacral, which is your creative center, creativity center, letting it open, clear, balance, and align, moving up your solar plexus, letting it open, clear, balance, and align. Beautiful. And now letting it go all the way up into your heart space, your throat, your third eye, up into your crown chakra on top of your head, 6 inches above your head is your soul star, which is the seat of your soul, the home of your higher self, letting it open, clear, balance, and align, and then letting it go all the way up to the heart of the creator, source energy, letting that energy go all the way up, 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 through the universe and the multiverse, into the heart of the creator. Beautiful. And as you're breathing in and out, becoming one with the energy of the creator, now that energy is ready to come back all the way down through all the layers, let it travel all the way down through the layers of the universe, back into your own energy fields, through your soul star, your crown chakra, down into your third eye, your throat and heart chakra, and let all the energies meet back there into your heart space. So we have the heart of the creator and that of Mother Earth. And you let that energy become one with your own heart energy of compassion, letting it expand into every cell and electron of your body, letting it become bigger, bigger than your body. Like, let that energy expand 12 feet all around you whilst pulsating this beautiful rose golden light. Beautiful. And as you're breathing in and out, we're going to do a little bit of connection with some of the wounding. We're going to do some release work, okay? We're going to first address any grief and sorrow that has been deeply suppressed in your own life. The grief and sorrow you experienced, yet you felt that you had to push aside, you had to push down, so that you don't get to, people don't get to experiencing you that way because you didn't feel you should have done so, for whatever other reason. We're going to really do some release around it. Because we do carry so much grief and so much sorrow from our own experiences in this lifetime, but also from previous lifetimes. You know, we've inherited in our DNA. We take it from the collective all around us, from our ancestry. And while it's important to acknowledge grief and sorrow, holding on to them can sort of create a lot of blocks from fulfilling our dreams and desires. And on the physical level, grief and sorrow can also show up as breathing and lung issues. So let's allow your grief and sorrow to come up to the surface, to be recognized and released. And let yourself, if you yawn, it's a good thing, just let yourself release a bit. Okay, so we're gonna move on now. We're gonna address a little bit around any loops of fear that we keep on taking ourselves, worry and anxiety, which can really kill our joy, right? So we want to disrupt and interrupt the loops of fear that we might be getting into, the loops of worry and anxiety that we can get trapped into, so that we bring our mind and mental body back into alignment and calm the nervous system a bit as well. Beautiful. Just let it work through you. Deep breath. We're also going to address a little bit about all the self-doubt and self-rejection we experience because we're not giving voice, we're not letting a black swan speak to us. So we want to be able to connect a little bit with the parts of us that experience self-doubt, self-rejection, and really clear some of the energy around this. Deep breath. Because especially with experienced trauma, especially when young, it can actually create a lot of self-doubt and rejection of self, which can take us away from our sovereignty, from self-love. So this is about bringing some healing to your heart and emotional body, dissolving feelings of unworthiness, self-rejection, self-doubt, and self-abandonment. And it can dramatically improve patterns in your life where you're experiencing rejection, judgment, and abandonment from other people. And ultimately, just to help bring you back into the understanding of how amazing you are in this moment, and back into alignment with a sense of self-love. Just allow yourselves to yawn where you need to. And as we're breathing in and out, we're also going to really start retrieving some soul fragments that have been suppressed with some of what has been laying down in our unconscious with our black swan. And again, because of trauma, we may not know that it's traumatic events, situations, experience that can actually cause a lot of soul fragmentation. So it's like we have a piece of ourselves embedded with a trauma as a way of remembering on a physical or energetic level, so we can protect ourselves from ever having to go through something similar. However, this fragmentation can make us feel incomplete and unfulfilled. So we're calling all soul fragments back. We're washing them clean in God's light. And clear the trauma that caused this fragmentation to happen. Oh. And it will give you your divine comfort and knowledge that you're safe to be in your body and stay in your body, which is really important. So we're also gonna do a belief clearing. So everywhere that you feel that it's not possible, you have to experience trauma in life in order to learn and grow from. Anywhere where you feel that that trauma is necessary for you to stay protected, we're going to clear and release that belief. And we're unwinding and unraveling all of this through all this time, dimension, and realities back to the point of origin and creation, sending the perfect divine light frequencies through all these timelines, dissolving, deleting, transmuting, transforming, healing, closing all karmic loops that hold these patterns and programs around the attachment to trauma, mark all lessons downloaded and complete, resolving on all levels and layers now. Thank you. Anywhere where you believe that you have to stay small in order to be protected in life, and that by staying small, no, you're going to avoid being harmed, being rejected, ignored, ridiculed. Anywhere where you feel by becoming bigger, you're not going to really have the support that you need, that people are gonna want to take you down, that they're not gonna want to listen to what you have to say. Let's clear and delete it. Anywhere where you feel that you're not good enough to show up in your life in the way you want, that you're not good enough to pursue your dreams, that people don't want what you have to give them, that you're not good enough to create, to build, to grow, to love. We are also doing some energy work around this. This is for Fatima, for Mary Jane, and everyone listening to this replay. Beautiful. And we're also going to look at claiming your voice, just letting yourself, giving yourself permission to really claim your voice in the world. Because your voice is a beautiful, energetic bridge of self-expression. So this alignment will clear the traumas, emotions, and beliefs that have accumulated there, causing you to lose your voice in any areas of your life. And it will activate your throat chakra so you can speak up and stand up for yourself and what you believe in a way that supports your highest good, okay? Beautiful. We're gonna do one last one. Yes, okay. So the last two, okay? So we're going to do one around your power. Wherever you give your power away and you are ready to claim your power back, to activate it so you don't have to give it away. And we do it for many reasons, right? Often we're not doing it consciously. But that creates all sort of complications and blocks in our energy. And then it manifests as like resentment towards others, guilt about owning our worth or claiming our desires, feelings of resistance and deep discomfort around power itself. We start to feel power is like a bad or wrong thing, and it causes us to continue giving our power away because we feel it's a bad thing. So, deep breath. This is to remind you you're an infinite being of light and you are worthy of claiming your power. We will also resolve any vows or contracts that you may have made multidimensionally to give away your power for any reason, unworthiness beliefs that may be causing you to give your power away, any guilt and resentment related to all of this. And it brings and activates your true divine power and the ability to be safe in your power, to own your power, and to use it in the highest and best way. So deep breath. Lovely. And finally, before we go and plant some seeds, guys, we're going to do a crystalline energy activation. So here, this is about upgrading your cells in a more crystalline form. And every time you basically hear this back, more of your cells will be upgrading into crystalline form, really to help shift your vibration and to experience a deeper frequency without the struggle and a little bit more grace, ease, and grace. And it's about also helping increase your ability to hold deeper vibrations of light. And what that happens when you're able to do that, you're find it a lot more comfortable to really receive anything that is held by your black swan and anything that has felt like a difficulty. It's a lot more easy to allow it to come up and to see it for what it is. Yeah, so that's why this is really important sometimes, because you're not holding the vibration of shame, or you don't feel triggered by your black swan as much. Lovely. And now we're going to move into the next stage. We're going to do a little bit of composting, energetic composting. Okay, so I want you to take a deep breath, first of all. Beautiful. As you're breathing in and out, I want you to now kind of really, we're going to be doing some planting, okay? But first, we're going to really kind of help take you into your own sacred garden, your own psychic garden that you can visit anytime, and you can plant anything that you have ready to plant. It could be a new dream, a new something you want to experience, a new intention, anything like that, okay? You're going to be doing some planting here today. But we're going to do a different kind of planting. So I want you to start, we're going to go into a slightly deeper theta state so that you connect with your own garden. And in front of you, with your eyes closed, I want you to visualize a path ahead of you, and you start walking down the path. And as you're walking down, you'll see a set of steps. And the deeper you go in the steps, the deeper your state of consciousness. It's like we're turning up the volume a bit. So you take the first step, number 10, and you feel a relaxation in your body, in your nervous system. You feel your body a lot more, your energy, your mind, your emotions, everything feels vivid. And on the 9th step that you take a little bit further down, you feel that to get a bit deeper, your state of consciousness, your state of being deepens a bit. Step number 8, that deepens even further. You feel the relaxation being stronger in your body. And by step 7, that has become a lot more calm now as well. By step 6, you feel in a really relaxed state of being. In state 5, even more so, it becomes deeper. Step 4, even more. Step 3, you relax even more. And you feel a deeper state of well-being as you do so. Step 2. Finally, step 1, you'll feel deeply relaxed, yet in full control of your body and your energy. And I want you to kind of look ahead of you and find a spot. You have this beautiful landscape right in front of you, a natural landscape that I want you to take a look at. And find a spot where it's your garden, where you'll see and you'll be called to go. It's your actual personal garden. Nobody else can go there unless you invite them. I want you to move towards it. And I want you to find a spot where you can sit there, next to your garden, just overlooking it. Take a moment to take the scenery. Take it all in. I want you for a minute to connect with your black swan through a particular disappointment, or it could have been an unfulfilled desire, or something that's happened in your life that you experienced as a disappointment, something that you maybe are grieving right now. Just pick one thing that right now you're processing, or that is in your awareness more. Could be a letdown you've had, loss of something or someone, unfulfilled desire, loss of job or a business, loss of drive, loss of interest, relationship breakdown or breakup, a family loss or separation, anything that stands out for you. I want you to pick one thing. Okay. And I want you to ask for your black swan to connect with you. Ask for her presence to be made known to you. You might even want to say, can you hear me right now? Check that she's hearing you, she can hear you. When you get a yes, I want you to ask her, what was it about? What is it that this loss, this disappointment, this experience is teaching me right now? And just be open to see what you receive from this. And see, don't overthink it, see what comes up. What is it that this is teaching me right now? Then I want you to ask, is it something I could have done different about this? Make a note of what you receive back. And also, was it something about that? What was it about that I was unable to do anything about, that I didn't have any control over? Is there something about this that I didn't have any control over? See what reveals to you. Okay. And I want you to ask the black swan to pass the lesson of this experience that you might still be learning, or you're in a process you want to learn, right? Ask her to pass you the seed of that lesson in the form of the seed, to pass it onto your hand or see it being transmitted to you. Now, I want you to take that seed. First of all, look at it. Look at it. What does it look like? I want you to feel the energy of that seed, and then take it and plant it somewhere in the garden. And I want you to notice what happens. What happens when you plant it? Notice, if anything at all, notice what that is. Okay. Because you bringing that now into any new creations is part of your present and your future. This seed, you taking into whatever else you're building and you're creating, you're bringing it forward, right? And I want you to now bring into your mind something you're really desiring to experience, one of your desires and dreams that you have right now. Bring that into your mind and to your awareness. And I want you to ask the seed to please nurture that dream. And to know that what's being planted is going to positively impact that new desire. And to know that that's what is working towards. That seed is there to bring that desire into fruition. And notice what happens since you've planted the seed. If you want to water it, you're very welcome to. How do you want to interact with your garden right now? See what else happens all around you. Because in the spirit realm, we do have things happen in a different way than in our normal lives, right? So you can see things happening. What changes all around it? Do you see any light, any changes in the light, in the surrounding? Do you see anything coming out of the seed, the soil, the garden? Anything that happens, just make a note of that. Now, I want you to ask your garden and the seed, how often do I come to plant this seed, to water the seed and be with it? How often shall I come to tend to it and sit by my garden? Make a note what you hear back. How often is that? And I want you to ask it, what else is it going to help me grow this well and give it what it needs? What else does it need from me to thrive? Beautiful. Make a note of that. And anything else you want to do, just see how your energy body feels having planted the seed, what it feels like being in the space. How does it feel being in your own garden? The garden of dreams, the garden of growth and aspiration, the garden of possibility. What does it feel like being there? And make a commitment to return and do what you need to whilst you go there. And in the meantime, I want you to start making your way out of the garden space and back into the staircase. Know you can return anytime. And just doing so slowly. Okay, just moving up the steps gradually, just step one. And as you go further up the steps, you find your energy becoming lighter again and connecting more with everything. Just step two, step three, just coming more and more out of that state, theta state, and back into your current consciousness. Step 4 and 5, step 6, step 7, 8, 9, and 10 in your own pace. And when you're ready, feel free to open up your eyes. And I am very curious to hear what you got from this. Somebody will feel free to share. If you take a moment, was it something that surprised you about it, or anything that you got through the process of composting and planting the seed? Anything about the lesson, anything you feel you want to share that makes sense for you to share? Feel free to do so. For those of you also who watch the replay, I'd love to know. Fatima, do you want to share something about your experience? Or Mary Jane, either of you, feel free to do so. Are you good, guys? Give me a sign if you can. You're back, first of all. Have you done anything like this before? Or anything at all? Hello, hello. I'm not sure if you're still there either, actually. But okay. I will assume you're good. Okay, how did you find it, Fatima? You got a bit of a headache. Okay. Did you feel you connected with the information you needed? and the lesson from the experience? Mary Jane says, my black swan has always been a part of me, but has been on a very short leash. My late husband neither fool me, everyone else gets glimpses. Yeah. Did you get more of a sense of her as well, Mary Jane? Was you connected with her? Did you feel more connection with her? And what happened once you planted the seed, by the way? I'm curious to know. That's good. That's good. I'm glad to hear. What happened once you planted the seed? Did you see anything changing around in the scenery or in your garden? Because what's interesting, I don't want to say it actually, I want to see if you found anything, because I get some very interesting things around this. Okay, you might not want to share at the moment. So ladies, listen, what I would say, every time we do any healing of this nature, I would just say, drink some water. Even if it has felt subtle, it has an effect on you. I would just say, try to really kind of just take it easy and give yourself some rest. You say that I'm impatient, so I kept poking the earth and telling it to grow. Sky turned to sunset, really beautiful color. Often there tends to be some really like more fast changes after we plant things in the psychic realm in some ways, you know, because like it operates on a completely different level. So it could be that the change of the sky or things start to grow straight away. Sometimes it will take longer, especially if you're going through stuff that I know you are at the moment, Mary Jane. Like there's a slower process with some things, right? But things, the scenery around will change, will make some changes. And it's a way of showing us that actually this is having an effect. You know, the seed that you're planting is being taken into account. Some shifts are happening. And to really trust, because remember that everything happens on this spiritual plane first and then on the physical level, right? So everything manifests first on the spiritual plane. So every time you go and attend to your garden, you have some time with your black sun, whatever it is, you know, you spend some time there, you actually set things in motion and you're kind of really tending to the spiritual dimension of your experience and your life. And it really is an important thing to do. So I would just say, Fatima, especially if you got a bit of a headache, just go and rest, let it kind of work through you, because, you know, as subtle as the work is, it can actually be quite more affecting than we realize. So plenty of water, some good rest. And ladies, thank you so much for being in this workshop today. It's really a pleasure to have you. I hope you have got some really good positive things from this. I hope at least it kind of motivates you to create a little bit more of a practice and a space to connect with your black swan a little bit more, either through your journaling, through your own meditation practice, and really kind of give space to what needs to be seen a bit more and witnessed, and to feel safe around doing so, you know. So I'm going to leave this. I'm going to delete this group in about 3 days. It's all going to go, but the video, which I recorded in Zoom, you're going to all receive on an email. So you can always kind of watch it there. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you have a really lovely evening. Do you have any questions before we go, lovelies? I'm guessing that no. If you have any questions, feel free to post. If not here now, feel free to just message me and let me know. You connected with a message? Great. I hope you got something useful from this. You don't need to share with us. and feel free to revisit anytime you want, yeah? So ladies, have a lovely evening. Thank you so much for being here today. And I will speak to you soon. Okay.